It has been 9 years since I was appointed Bishop of the Diocese of San Carlos. And of course, we have just celebrated 500 years of Christianity in the Philippines. So I am taking seriously the challenge to really live out the spirituality of stewardship. From day one, when I set foot in the soil of the Diocese of San Carlos as the third bishop, I promoted the battle cry, Ubuntu, I am because we are. Always thinking of the body of Christ, that we are a people of God, that we are in this together, and no one should be left behind. So in the very first clergy retreat that our clergy asked me to facilitate, I deepen this concept, this battle cry from an African tribe, Ubuntu, that sense of being part of a whole. And you know, the Diocese of San Carlos is composed of many areas in the mountains, in the countryside, in the peripheries, and that we are happy that my predecessor has really created mission stations. And then when I first came, I heard some concerns how to support those in the mission stations. And the way of supporting always is through arancel system, that there is a recommended donation for every exercise or administration of the sacraments. The problem with this is they always associate money with the administration of the sacraments. And so you have vocabularies like magkano ba ang kasal, magkano ba ang binyag, magkano ba magpakumpirma, as if we are paying or buying the sacraments, when in fact that would be sacrilegious. And then another situation is we remit our contribution to the diocese, and then the diocese spend it for its operation, and so money come in, money come out. So parang the spirit of stewardship is not really growing if we continue in this way, because stewardship for me is administering, using, managing whatever resources, gifts God has given us, and that is not just limited to money, but it is first of all our life, our persons, our gifts, the material and human resources, and even the spiritual resources that God has given us, to use them and give them back to God and to the community with an increase. With an increase is always a key word for me. It's not just entering and going out the same way, as if you're just burying your gift. But the Lord is expecting us to grow, to make prosper, to really develop whatever He has blessed us with. And so to a series of retreats and recollections and sharing of actual experiences, we develop the spirit of Ubuntu among us, until such time that the clergy agreed, on top of our standardized living allowance, that we put in common and share in common the fruits of our ministry, so that each month, after having put them all in common, we divide this among ourselves equally, so that it doesn't matter whether you're assigned in a small mission station or a poor area or in a big parish. We all received equally the same an honorarium that would make us really live in a decent and dignified way, and that really among us no one is in need, as like the early Christian communities. And also, we established the Diocese of San Carlos Stewardship and Philanthropic Development Office, wherein we identified our advocacies and we try to, through the spirituality of stewardship, we try to look for the necessary funding. But you know, what we are blessed with is that from the very first bishop of the Diocese of San Carlos, with Bishop Nicolas Mondihar, who is considered the father of tithing in our country, we already have developed this concept of balik halad, giving back to God an offering for what we have received. The problem and our issue with arancel system is that it's like borrowed from or adapted from the capitalist system. You know, you give in the measure that you receive. I mean, that there is always like a price to pay for whatever service you render or you benefit from. But stewardship, on the other hand, or balik halad, is developing that sense of gratitude, that sense of being grateful for who we are, for what we receive, and always to give back to God out of gratitude from what we have received. It's like giving what is due to God, giving credit where credit is due. And so when the first bishop, Bishop Nicolas, was installed here, he was guided by his episcopal motto, which says, "The charity of Christ urges us, moves us." So the foundation of stewardship for us is really the love of God, particularly the new commandment of the Lord, "Love one another as I have loved you." And so if we have to seriously live out this new commandment of Jesus, we cannot but share whatever we have, no matter how small. If we all share, then it can really generate the needed amount, and we will be surprised. There will always be surplus. There will always be what we say, the superabundance, no, the surplus. There will always be something more to share with those who are in need. And so the other inspiration came also from the next bishop, now Archbishop of Manila, His Eminence Jose Cardinal Advincula, because his episcopal motto is audiam, meaning I will listen. So precisely because we are trying to listen to the voices from the ground, both from the priests and the lay people, we were able to come up with our financial system that is based now on the spirituality of stewardship rather than on the arancel system. And so during the most challenging thing there is that we started implementing it during the pandemic, and in spite of the challenge of the pandemic, that we were locked down for many months, years even. In spite of that, because of this balik halad, because of this stewardship program and this battle cry of Ubuntu, we were able to sustain our different projects, different ministries, our personnel. We don't have to stop people from working, we were able to continue giving them salaries. And so this stewardship is so important. Now the gains, it starts first with the priests, because it's not difficult anymore to have reshuffling. There's no more problem with helping one another in our assignments. We're not so much conscious of jurisdiction, territorial boundaries. There's always the eagerness to reach out and help one another in our various ministries, because after all, we receive the same honorarium. And it's a beautiful feeling that when a priest, for example, went to the hospital for some health reasons, for some treatment, he's very aware that it is his brother priests and the people of God who are supporting him. And so the loyalty is not to any person, but to the whole community, to the brotherhood of the priests, as well as the love of the people of God. And also, what is beautiful, that is also very palpable, is we are able to support the various ministries of the church, like our Catholic schools, our parochial schools. We are able to, the parochial schools or the mission schools do not have to go to loan sharks to borrow money so that they can pay for the salary of the teachers on time. But we were able to have these reserve funds so that we can really support them during lean months, And this is out of communion. And then also the constant challenge at the moment that we find ourselves in is precisely the change of mindset. So it is still an ongoing thing. There is a need for continuing conversion, because sometimes we tend to dichotomize activities rather than seeing everything as a whole. And so in the Balikhalad program started by Bishop Nicolas Mondihar, and Father Alwin can speak about more of this, there are pledges, and and people decide how much they will offer in gratitude on a regular basis, and that it is not so much because they receive some benefits, but it is because they are grateful for being part of the body of Christ, and that they want to help the whole church. And so the vision is eventually we will eliminate these various fundraising activities, but we will be able to institutionalize the culture of giving and sharing, so that we are able to generate the kind of support that we have, that we need, for the various programs of the diocese. But of course, we have to be very careful not just to limit stewardship in the area of finances alone, or in the administration of material things, but it has to be based on a spirituality, a sense of communion, of sacramental brotherhood, first of all among us priests, and then with the rest of the people of God, and the rest will just follow. So I hope this has been helpful to you, our sharing, and our economos will also add more insights and lessons from our experience. Thank you very much.
Hello, I'm Father Alwin Jimenez, the economos of the Diocese of San Carlos, and we are here with Bishop Jerry to share with you our experience on stewardship. The flow of my presentation today First is awareness, second, naming, third, owning, and fourth, decision. When we talk about awareness, we'll try to evaluate ourselves in terms of our consciousness, especially in the context of the church, and also our leadership style to stewardship. As we see and experience our leadership style in our parish and diocese, there we can see the real stewardship in terms of leadership. And then the spirituality of stewardship is very important because it is what fuels us to do our mission in the church. An example is stewardship of one's vocation. Basic ideas behind being a steward. This is I quoted this from the presentation of Bishop Abilio. First, we are not the owner. Second, we have this responsibility in managing. Third, we should manage according to what the owner wants. And fourth, we are answerable to the owner. So these principles will guide us to become more effective stewards. Biblical implication of stewardship from 1 Peter chapter 4 verse 10. As each has received a gift, employ it for one another as good stewards of God's varied grace. We all know that we have varied grace from God because we are gifted to give. The gifts of God are varied, not same for all. Gifts must be put into use. Gifts are given to us but to be used for others. Gifts must be returned with increase, and this is what Bishop Jerry shared us earlier, that to return with increase to the Lord. Now, if we talk about spirituality here is our lifestyle in managing of the varied grace of God. So we know that as stewards, we will be accountable to God and to the community in which we exercise this stewardship. Sample in our parishes, in our diocese, and our communities. Hence, spirituality promotes transparency and responsibility in our use of resources, including material resources. Quoted from U.S. bishops, as Christian stewards, we receive God's gift gratefully, cultivate them responsibly, share them in loving justice with others, and return them with increase to the Lord. And to abolish arancel, Pope Francis is telling us that convinced that churches should not charge the services they provide as sacraments are gifts from God. So this is where we are be rooted and founded by our spirituality, that all are gifts from God. Now, the second point is naming. So we try to name our vision, second, the mission, third, needs and resources. Create a vision. Think about who will participate in the vision. Suggest, dream, and visualize. Concentrate on positive things that create a sense of purpose and meaning to life. Do not limit your vision to appearances. Visions go beyond what is in front of you. And lastly, visions are not limited by needs, but the needs are determined by the vision. And we remember that we formulated our shared vision and mission last 2017, and this is our shared vision and mission in the diocese. We, the listening church of the Diocese of San Carlos, strive to become a loving family, a just and peaceful community, united in our concern for the cries of the poor, the youth, and the Mother Earth. As we journey towards Christ through transformation and service according to the Word of God and through our active involvement in our basic Christian communities, we humbly entrust this to the mercy of God through the intercession of the Blessed Virgin Mary, the protection of Saint Joseph and Saint Charles Borromeo, our patron. So that's our shared vision and mission in the diocese. And I think our stewardship in the church affects the sustainable development goals, the 17 goals to transform our world. And in the Diocese of San Carlos, we have this Stewardship and Philanthropic Development Office, which we named 14 advocacies. And these are scholarship, pastoral care, and community development. Third, seminary formation and vocation. Fourth, human resource development. Fifth, ongoing clergy formation. Sixth, social action. Seventh, mission and evangelization. Eighth, liturgy. Ninth, infrastructure. 10th, youth. 11th, clergy healthcare. 12th, family and life. 13th, integral ecology. We call it Lunhao. And 14th is the mass media and social communications. So we have to name also our resources, no? So we have this human capital, our staff, no? Our collaborators in the parish or in the diocese. Pledges Balikhalad, this is being mentioned by Bishop Jerry earlier, that Balikhalad during the time of the late Bishop Nicholas Mundihar, he established this modified tithing. The system is the parishioners in the different BEC will pledge a certain amount to the respective BEC, and the 40% of the total contribution per BEC will remain in their respective BEC, and then 60% is remittable to the parish. And accumulated 60% to all BECs in the parish, 50% will remain in the parish for pastoral programs and projects, and the 50% will be remittable to the diocese for pastoral programs and other needs. So that's the concept of the Balikhalad in the Diocese of San Carlos. And then we have lands, donations, giving circle. We promote giving circle because we believe that there is strength in numbers. And then grants to different NGOs, for example, and then social enterprise and others. So another way to accelerate our resources is to consider many ways to share a blessing. First is corporate donors, the corporate social responsibility, the associations, fraternity, civic organizations, religious organizations and movements, and other possible groups. And there are many groups around our diocese and our parishes, no, that to consider. Another way is share tribute gifts like achievements after passing the teacher's board exam, engineering, doctorate, the like, no? So achievements, anniversaries. We could also consider wedding anniversaries, birthdays, promotions, reunions, weddings, memorials of loved ones, and other special moments. And then leave a legacy. For example, give extraordinary contribution, like example is will and testament, insurance beneficiary, lands, buildings. So this idea, I learned this from the Spring Rain Global. Now they shared to us during the establishment of our Stewardship and Philanthropic Development Office. Then now we come to the third point, is owning. So there are core values of stewardship. No? First, we called it art, the art of stewardship. A stands for accountability, because we are all stewards of God. We are accountable for the gifts that He entrusted to us. And then we are responsible, no, to manage those gifts. And thirdly, the transparency. We try to make a system to be transparent to our people. When we put into place all our resources, we can even more recognize the gifts of God and even more give to the needy to sustain our mission. We are gifted and we are called to give to continue our mission. Now, this is the last point of my presentation, decision. To have a common understanding, decision, and direction on how to maximize our gifts so that we can return with increase to the Lord, no? And to seek more opportunities and to sustain our mission. So part of our decision, we try to consider these three aspects: the resources, right staff, and right system. Because if we have so much resources and then we have a wrong staff or wrong system, so it will not work. So the three should be balanced, no? And then if we have a wrong staff, we have a resources, wrong staff, and right system, it defeats the purpose of our stewardship. So these three will go hand in hand. So for example, the right system, we decided on 2020 to have an all-in, all-out system in the diocese wherein all the clergy are equal in terms of monthly allowances. So that's part of stewardship. And I borrowed the idea of the all-in, all-out system in the Diocese of Kabangkalan. Now, if we consider our resources, our staff, and our system, we'll try also to engage into strategic and financial planning, because there is a saying that says, a goal without a plan is just a wish. Now, we try to list down all our donors in terms of their giving capacity. Now, like, who are those major donors in the diocese or in the parish? Who are those repeat donors? And who are those first-time donors? And who are those our prospects? So that's also we try to consider in terms of maximizing our resources. And then we try to connect the unconnected. Now we try to maximize those people who are not yet involved in our church, no? Because there are sleeping dragon around our parish, our diocese. So try to connect the unconnected, or even to reconnect the connected. And now I'll try to share with you the thought of Jerry Panas, a way of asking, no? So he said, the right person asks the right prospects for the right amount in a right way at the right time for the right cause with the right follow-up. And I believe this saying that says, when we recognize that a better word for fundraising is friend raising, we open limitless doors to creativity in support of our causes. So relationship matters. And finally, according to a great author, he said, someone is sitting in the shade today because someone planted a tree a long time ago. So all our efforts to prepare, all our efforts to maximize the stewardship in the church is for a better future of our mission. Thank you so much for your attention for my talk about stewardship, sustaining the mission of the church in a culture of giving. So let's provide the venue for our people to give, because we believe that everyone is gifted to give.